Today's passage is 2 Samuel chapter 13 verses 1 through 15. Let's read together. In the course of time, Amnon son of David fell in love with Tamar, the beautiful sister of Absalom son of David. Amnon became so obsessed with his sister Tamar that he made himself ill. She was a virgin, and it seemed impossible for him to do anything to her. Now Amnon had an advisor named Jonadab, son of Shemaiah, David's brother. Jonadab was a very shrewd man. He asked Amnon, "Why do you, the king's son, look so haggard morning after morning? Won't you tell me?" Amnon said to him, "I'm in love with Tamar, my brother Absalom's sister." "Go to bed and pretend to be ill," Jonadab said. "When your father comes to see you, say to him, 'I would like my sister Tamar to come and give me something to eat. Let her prepare the food in my sight so I may watch her and then eat it from her hand.'" So Amnon lay down and pretended to be ill. When the king came to see him, Amnon said to him, "I would like my sister Tamar to come and make some special bread in my sight, so I may eat from her hand." David sent word to Tamar at the palace, "Go to the house of your brother Amnon and prepare some food for him." So Tamar went to the house of her brother Amnon, who was lying down. She took some dough, kneaded it, made the bread in his sight and baked it. Then she took the pan and served him the bread, but he refused to eat. "Send everyone out of here," Amnon said. So everyone left him. Then Amnon said to Tamar, "Bring the food here into my bedroom so I may eat from your hand." And Tamar took the bread she had prepared and brought it to her brother Amnon in his bedroom. But when she took it to him to eat, he grabbed her and said, "Come to bed with me, my sister." "No, my brother," she said to him, "don't force me. Such a thing should not be done in Israel. Don't do this wicked thing. What about me? Where could I get rid of my disgrace? And what about you? You would be like one of the wicked fools in Israel. Please speak to the king. He will not keep me from being married to you." But he refused to listen to her, and since he was stronger than she, he raped her. Then Amnon hated her with intense hatred. In fact, he hated her more than he had loved her. Amnon said to her, "Get up and get out. Amen." I will share a message titled Amnon and Tamar-Distorted Love. We are now passing a major turning point in the entirety of the 2 Samuel. The flow of the story, which had been on an upward path, is now in a phase of descent, gradually going downhill. What lies at this turning point? What event is there? It is the incident where David sinned with Bathsheba. This dirty and evil story of adultery and murder acted as a sort of brake on the triumphant political life of King David, and from now on, he will continue to go downhill. The problems that now arise have these meanings. On the surface, they are problems occurring in David's family. A family affair. Violent incidents occur one after another among his children, eventually even threatening the royal throne on which David sits. But behind the scenes, what is being filtered and determined through this is the gradual establishment of David's line of succession. This means the princes are gradually sorted out, and the focus concentrates on one person. So, the events that unfold from now on are punitive consequences of David taking a woman in a wrong way. That is, they are related to the past. But at the same time, these events flow in the direction of establishing Solomon's succession, so they are also events moving toward the future. At a glance, they seem like dark events, but these dark events ultimately take on a form of being sublimated into light. God's work is always like this. God uses people's weaknesses and their wickedness, full of sin, just as they are. When we look back later, we see that He ultimately makes all things work together for good. That is why our God is the one who presides over history. As we read the Bible and live our lives of faith, we always come to realize this fact. Despite the things we did immaturely, without full understanding, and sometimes the things we started out of great greed, God works all those things together for good. The strange paradox of His successor being established from the most foolish and wrongful event of David's entire life is the work of God's kingdom that will now unfold. Today's passage is the first incident that signals the turmoil in David's family. I believe that all such incidents originate from the parents' faults. David loved someone he should not have loved. In fact, that emotion was closer to desire or lust than to love. This is because it was merely a self-centered desire to possess, not an altruistic heart that cared for and gave life to others. That desire eventually led to violence. Violence that took a life soon followed. The children naturally learned these negative traits from their parents. Even without being explicitly taught, children are greatly influenced by their parents, because they were not loved properly, because they did not learn what love truly is. They could not love properly. This is the state of David's sons, a state of not knowing what love is. Among David's children, Amnon was in this serious state. 2 Samuel 3 lists David's family, and there, Amnon is recorded as David's firstborn son. The eldest son inherited his father's dark side. He mistakes that strange desire for love and uses it to commit indiscriminate violence, trampling on the weak. In today's passage we examine the distorted love that could be mistaken for true love. First, Amnon's distorted love is desire. Let's read today's passage verses 1 and 2 together. In the course of time, Amnon son of David fell in love with Tamar, the beautiful sister of Absalom son of David. Amnon became so obsessed with his sister Tamar that he made himself ill. She was a virgin, and it seemed impossible for him to do anything to her. Amen. It is recorded that Amnon loved Tamar. However, this love was not a normal love. It was a very distorted emotion, and this distorted emotion led to obsession. Verse 2 says that Amnon became ill with frustration over his sister Tamar. What did love turn into? It degenerated into a pathological obsession and anger. This obsession and anger are not like the love sickness you see in novels or movies. Love sickness comes from a pure heart and does not harm or hurt people. But the illness Amnon was suffering from was a sickness that came from not being able to possess her. It was not an illness born of love, but an illness that came from not possessing her, an illness for the sake of possessing her. And so, it gave birth to violence that would stop at nothing. This obsession with possession and the dissatisfaction from it led to violence. Second, Amnon's distorted love is violence. Let's read verse 14 together. But he refused to listen to her, and since he was stronger than she, he raped her. Amen. Amnon was blinded by his desire for possession, because he was determined to have her by any means. He resorted to schemes and violence, and in the end, he took Tamar by force, by violence. The Bible expresses it as, he raped her, which means he did it by force. Violence and coercion are not love. Violence and coercion are simply a crime. In verses 12 and 13, Tamar calmly explained the situation. She even told him to, please speak to the king. This was not a rejection, but a proposal to go through the proper process. Sexual relations without marriage are not good. They are very, very evil. And their outcome is never bright. Tamar wisely explained the procedures and process, but Amnon was not at all prepared to listen to her. Because he had power, he tried to get what he wanted by force. And he did what he wanted by force. Violence and coercion can never be justified by anything. This is because they destroy the body, the mind, and even the soul. Finally, Amnon's distorted love is irresponsibility. Let's read verse 15 together. Then Amnon hated her with intense hatred. In fact, he hated her more than he had loved her. Amnon said to her, get up and get out. Amen. Amnon got what he wanted. What he wanted was not Tamar as a person. What he wanted was just a filthy, evil, and nauseating desire. We must not misunderstand this as love. Love never resolves its desires in this way. This final verse, verse 15, clearly shows its true nature. Immediately after sleeping with her, his heart changes. This is clear evidence that his heart was not filled with love. His heart doesn't just change or grow cold. The Bible records that the hatred he had for her was greater than the love he had felt for her. Because it was never love from the beginning but only desire, it changed like this after that desire was fulfilled. Love is an emotion that is accompanied by responsibility. You cannot love without responsibility. An irresponsible emotion is not love. An irresponsible emotion is, in fact, cruel violence. Amnon takes no responsibility for what he has done. He destroys a woman's life and then abandons that life. That woman. And so, in the end, he will be forced by someone else to take responsibility. A bloody event of accountability will soon follow. Dear friends, we must learn the emotion of love correctly. We must realize what love truly is. The world today has greatly distorted love. It packages pleasure as love and calls desire love. The most prominent characteristic of distorted love is self-centeredness. It's all about me. The world has been saying that satisfying one's own desires is love, not altruistic sacrifice for others. This is by no means love. Love is an emotion that must be learned maturely. It is not an impulse but an attitude that benefits others under self-restraint and control. Therefore, it is closer to will than to emotion. It is closer to the will to commit and the will to sacrifice. It is also classified into immature love and mature love, desire that takes the place of love, pleasure that has corrupted love. Focusing on these feelings of mine is not love. Mature love thinks of God. I bless you in the name of the Lord to live this day embracing God's heart, not your own feelings. I bless you in the name of the Lord that we may have a precious and blessed day focusing on that heart of God, and that our church community may become one that does not live swept away by emotions, but one that learns and practices the love of sacrifice and devotion that God has shown us.